In this episode of Weekly Poker Hand, we're taking a look at a spot from a $10,000 buy-in final table at the U.S. Poker Open. I'm actually at this table, but I'm not going to be playing this hand today. Instead, I want to focus on the epic play of Brock Wilson, who's one of the absolute best players in the world. He's also a poker coaching coach on my training site, pokercoaching.com. Make sure you check it out.
Now that's impressive. That's good stuff. Wilson here, Pocket Kings, trying to see if he can make a few chips here. And look at this. David Coleman finds ace queen of spades. Donnie, ace queen of spades, 3-bet. I'm assuming. What you're thinking here, given the stack depths?
I think you can proceed here, just calling like Coleman. Peters now with a decision here in the big blind. Does he want to go three ways here? He does.
Close, you have 600.
We are playing effectively 35-ish big blinds deep in this situation. Brock Wilson, under the gun, six-handed, raises up to 35,000 with king of spades, king of hearts. The suits are going to be relevant. Over on to David Coleman, also a good, strong, world-class player. In the cutoff, he calls with ace queen of spades. He opts to not 3-bet in this hand because there are two shorter stacks, and he wants to be sure to try to outlast them, and he doesn't want to 3-bet a hand like ace queen suited and have to fold it to a 4-bet. That would take whatever equity ace queen suited has and throw it right in the garbage. Over on to David Peters, also a poker coaching coach. He has the ace-8 offsuit in the big blind with a short-ish stack of about 15 big blinds. He opts to call. Let's go to the flop.
Okay, this could be a fun one now. Peters likely going to be out of the way here, but Wilson's got the overpair. He also has that king of spades in his hand, which does have some importance to it. Coleman flops 2 overs and the nut flush draw with the ace queen of spades. Flop is jack 4-3, 130,000 out there.
35.
Peters checks and Wilson continues, 35,000 here.
Cool.
The flop is a fun one. Jack of spades, 4 of spades, 3 of clubs. David Peters has nothing. He's done. He checks. Brock Wilson goes for a 35,000 bet. You may say, why so small? Isn't he worried about getting outdrawn? First things first, the 4 and the 3 really do not connect too well with either of his opponent's calling ranges, so those cards kind of don't exist on the board. So you're not so worried about those. The jack certainly hits your opponent, and they could have some flush draws, but they're also going to have a whole lot of hands that have no flush draw and no pair. So against a range like that, you certainly don't mind betting using a small size, and you're going to find that in general, in multi-way pots, when you do make a continuation bet, you typically want to use a small sizing. Also, in tournaments, when you are the big stack involved in the pot, often you want to use lots of aggression, but for small amounts. And that's exactly what Brock does here. He goes for 35,000. Coleman, with the ace-high flush draw, could either raise and just play for all the money, or call. And you're going to find that in general, if you raise and play for all the money in the spot, you're going to be roughly flipping. In this scenario, we see he's actually even a little bit behind. He only has 42%. So, would Coleman rather play a medium-sized pot with a lot of equity and maybe be able to get away by the river if he has nothing by the river? Or would he rather bloat the pot and get in with 42% equity some portion of the time? Well, the answer is keep the pot manageable, which is exactly what he does. Let's go to the turn.
Coleman makes the call. Peters out of the way. 7 of spades here on the turn. The flush comes home for Coleman. Wilson slows down here with a check.
10 seconds. $105.
Just over half pot here is the wager from Coleman, 105 into 200. Would imagine Wilson will continue here. Does have that king of spades in his hand. Of course, the overpair working, albeit not good here.
10 seconds. Cool.
There is the call from Wilson.
The turn is the 7 of spades, a disaster for Brock Wilson, even though at this point he has an overpair, which is pretty good, and a flush draw to the king, which is pretty good. He opts to check, though. You may say, why check? Doesn't he want to get money in the pot? And to be fair, I think betting in this spot could be perfectly fine, because I think if Coleman has a jack, he's not going to find all that many folds, whereas if he does have a jack, he's going to check it back on the turn a lot. That said, Brock does go for the check. Maybe he already senses strength from his opponent. Who knows? He checks. Coleman bets 105,000, just trying to get some money into the pot. It's about half the size of the pot on the turn. And Brock, with his overpair and flush draw, finds the call. Let's see if he drowns on the river.
6 of spades comes on the river, a 4th spade. Wilson now with that king of spades, the second nut flush. But he's up against it. Coleman, the ace, queen of spades. Wilson checks. With 410 out there, Coleman's got 350 behind. Could certainly see him coming for it all here.
Seconds. Time extension. Seconds.
Not quite all of it, looks like 260.
Such a f***ing good hand, but 260.
It is 260,000.
The river's an absolute disaster for Brock Wilson. The 6 of spades, it gives him a flush. He's not so worried about the straight flushes in this scenario, so he pretty much has the second nuts. He checks, and then Coleman makes a very interesting bet. In this scenario, Coleman has 350,000. The pot's 410, and he opts to go for 260, leaving himself 90,000 behind. Interesting. What I want to know is, what bluffs do you think Coleman has in his range to get to this point in the hand and to play it in this manner? Take a second, think about it, and let me know what you think in the comment section down below. While you're down there, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe button. Also click the notification bell. And we're going to come back and see if Brock can somehow not lose a ton of chips with the second nut flush.
Looks like Wilson has 3 time extensions, I believe. Probably going to be using at least 1 or 2 of those here as he thinks this one over.
What would you have? Ace 5 makes a straight. That's not happening. You're not going to bet the turn with like 5s or something. Ace 10 of clubs. You could easily just check the turn. I mean, if you have the queen of spades, I don't think you do. 10 seconds. 260, there's 35, 420, 260 and 420. I mean, it's like no money. so many ways to the ace of spades. Ace queen, ace of spades. I mean, every the queen of spades. You'd have to have like. No, I don't think so. This is so. I should just call. See it.
Brock Wilson is torn in the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cooler, kind of a, you know, what bluffs does he have here?
I don't know if those go. That's so stupid.
Wow, good fold, Brock Wilson.
Well done.
Brock talks us all the way through it. There really are not a whole lot of logical bluffs for Coleman to have unless he's just taking some weird nonsense and blasting off with it, which is, you know, not a whole lot of player styles at the final table, especially when there are a few shorter stacks at the final table. So Brock Wilson somehow, some way finds a way to fold the second nut flush, and he conserves his stack at this final table. I'll talk to you next time.